Moves on in, and he scores! He's gonna learn today.
What's going on, boys and girls? This is the Pod Street Bullies, back for another week of Flyers talk now that there's actually hockey to talk about. My name is Derek.
And I am John. What's going on, everybody?
We could call it an action-packed episode here, I guess.
I mean, I guess. But before we go into any of that, I need to talk about this on air with you.
Oh, God. What do we got now?
Drew Doughty and Braden Shen for Jack Eichel is a fine trade. So just sack up and make it.
No.
Dude, you're killing me.
Listen,
come on now.
If you look at my fantasy team right now and the depth that I have at center, why would I be willing to give that up?
Well, because you're stinking on ice.
Dude, Sean Couturier, Sidney Crosby.
You need people in different positions.
Jack Eichel.
Right, but you can only play like 2 or 3 of them at a time.
Leon Draisaitl.
And it's clearly not working.
I can play 3 centers at once because of the utility position, and Draisaitl can play left wing.
Yeah, but you're in like 13th place, and we have 12 people.
Yeah, like a week into the damn season. Come on.
All right, well, listen, Peter Laviolette was fired, and then Berube led the team to the playoffs. See, you make early decisions.
Listen,
just make the trade.
I'm not making the trade. You're not going to stronghold me into this. I'm not having this.
Hashtag make the trade.
Hashtag suck it. We're gonna actually get into some Flyer stuff here, you know. But if we're gonna start anywhere, I think we need to start with the 4-0 drubbing of the rival New Jersey Devils. How happy were you to see that end result?
News break: they're not that good.
Yeah, I love that.
I mean, I get it; it's early, but there's still goalie problems. Schneider stinks.
But they had such a great offseason, John.
I know.
They won. They won the offseason. Surely there's a banner they can hang, an award that they get. You know, there's something that they get for having the quote-unquote best offseason in all of the NHL, right?
Right. There should be. It's just stupid, man. I mean, no, regardless, the Flyers played a really good game. You know, what I like is, what I've seen to notice is they can control the pace of the game. You know, they got out early. They got out to an early lead, and then they just didn't let go. I guess early lead isn't true, but they got the lead first.
Yeah, I mean, and considering the other team, the Devils, didn't score any goals, you know.
Right.
I'm assuming, obviously, we both watched this game. When the Flyers killed off that big 5-on-3, did you have to turn the volume on your television down because of how loud the Wells Fargo Center was?
It's about time, man. That place has lost some electricity for a while.
Oh, it's back, baby. It's back in a big way.
You know, and that's nice, man, because what I've noticed is that the things that the Flyers have been doing wrong for so long, early on, they're doing right. And it's got the fan base excited. You know, the power play and the penalty kill has been better. They don't look bad in the first period like they have in the past.
Mm-hmm. The slow starts were something that plagued them for a long time, and that didn't appear to be the case Wednesday night, which is great. We got, finally, after about a half a season's worth of play, a shutout from Carter Hart, which is great to see.
Right.
First of many, hopefully.
Yeah, it's going to be great for his confidence.
Oh, for sure. Penalty kill looked great. They were 5 for 5. Power play, special teams in general. I mean, how many years has it been since we've had truly a top 10 special teams unit, you know, with penalty kill and power play?
Yeah, I mean, the power play until very recently was good enough. You know, that PP1 was always pretty great, but once you had to go to the second unit, it was piss poor, awful. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'll probably say this at least for another 4 weeks or so, but it's still early, you know, but all the signs are good, and you defeat a division rival who is supposed to be really good this year, and we defeated them quite handily.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see. And like you said, with a lot of the observations we're going to talk about here, we have to keep in mind that it is early. There's only been 3 games so far. But you have to draw some type of conclusion with the sample size you've been given. And this is what we're going to get because special teams look great. Penalty kill was 5 for 5, which is amazing because think about last year how bad they were.
Right.
Power play 2 has been for the past couple years pretty putrid, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, one of those power play goals came from the second power play unit, so that's encouraging.
I think so, yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah.
And Ivan Provorov scored a goal.
Yes, great goal. I mean,
Yeah.
What a snipe. Good Lord.
Right. And I mean, we kind of gave him crap for not a good game in Prague, but he looked better.
Oh, yeah. Definitely looked better. That's the kind of Ivan Provorov that I think we need to see moving forward here. And I guess, in a way, Wayne Simmons kind of got what he wanted because he didn't want cheers, he wanted boos. And it sounded like the fans at the Wells Fargo Center, after the tribute video at least, every time he touched the puck, they let him hear it.
They didn't boo during the tribute video, right?
Oh, God, no. No.
Okay.
No.
I was going to say.
I don't think
I don't remember that.
I don't think there was a dry eye in the place either. I mean, that was a great tribute video.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it was going to be an emotional, and it was nice to see that it was emotional for him, too.
Mm-hmm.
And then we beat him. So,
yeah, so there's your parting gift, Wayne Train.
It's weird seeing him in a Devils jersey. Like, the Predators one, I was like, okay, whatever, but it doesn't look right. The New Jersey red.
He says he likes the color red, too, in his pregame interview that everybody huddled around him. He's like, I think I look good in red. And I'm like, no, Wayne, don't say that. But, you know.
Well, he probably has to say it at this point.
Oh, yeah, there's something in his contract about it.
Right.
But regardless, you know, great start to the week with the Flyers, 1-0, 4-0 shutout on New Jersey. And then Saturday night, late night game, which, contrary to what John said last week on the podcast, I stayed up and watched every minute of it.
The entire thing?
The entire thing. And I'm not going to say I'm disappointed because the Flyers controlled a lot of that game. But, man, when you run into a goalie like Markstrom last night, wow. Markstrom played out of his mind. He played so well. It's tough to crack a guy like that, you know, and it sucks.
Oh, yeah.
But they got a point out of it. Lost in the shootout. Right. You know, damn shootouts.
Still on a point streak.
Yeah, 5 points.
You know, talking about the shootout, though, so I did not stay up and watch the game. I was actually in bed quite early last night for circumstances we won't get into. But I was watching the highlights, and the Kevin Hayes shootout attempt, what the hell was that?
I could probably list at least 5 names I'd have rather seen take that shot than Kevin Hayes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he's been like in the past with that stuff, but it was so unenthusiastic, and he just kind of goes in there and holds onto the puck forever, and then eventually just like gives it to the guy.
If he'd have elevated that puck a bit and got it over Markstrom's right pad, goal, no questions asked. Markstrom left that net wide open. Yeah,
he had no idea what he was doing. You could tell that he had no plan. He was just like, I'm just gonna do this and hope for the best. Oh, it's not opening up. I'm just gonna hold on to it for a little bit longer.
He pulled a John and Derek and just was like, I'm gonna wing this one.
Right. Yep. It was kind of like our endings. It just keeps going, and you don't know when the finish is going to take place.
Yeah, it was. I'll admit it was a good move to kind of wait for Markstrom to make that first move, and when he did, it's just the execution is what got me. Because I'm like,
he gave it to him. He just was like, here you go,
you take it. You know,
we got a point. That's all that matters.
It's like Bobby Boucher giving the ball to that offensive lineman, like, there you are. You know.
But overall, a pretty decent game. Like you said, hot goaltenders, man, when you run into those, I mean, that's how people win the Stanley Cup.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely. There, again, special teams look pretty solid. Vancouver had been a perfect 12 for 12 leading into this game, I believe, and the Flyers finally broke that. They were 1 for 3 on the power play. And again,
they were 12 for 12 on the power play?
On the penalty kill. I apologize. Vancouver was 12 for 12 on the penalty kill.
No, you might have said penalty kill, but I was half listening, I guess. I was just going to be like, 12 for 12 on the power play. Holy crap.
Yeah, it was, I mean, that again, like we're going to probably say 5 more times, like it's early in the season, but still 12 for 12, you've got 12 chances to kill off a penalty and you kill all of them off. That's impressive.
Yeah.
So it's good to see the Flyers cracking a unit like that with their power play. Twarynski had his first goal of his professional NHL career, which was a great shot. Got second star of the night. Konechny, great assist on that Lindblom goal. Crossed the crease and just Lindblom wide open net, put it home.
Dude, Konechny, first of all, can we just 6 points in 3 games? Hey, now.
This guy's earning his contract.
Yep. I love it. I've said it before, but no one is more hungry than Travis Konechny right now. Every time he takes the ice, he's noticeable.
Oh, you're so right.
And not in a bad way.
No, he sticks out like a sore thumb, but again, in a good way. He's got the determination. He is hot right now. He is probably the best Flyer right now out of everybody on the team. And how encouraging is that when you just sign that guy to the biggest contract of his life and he's still hungry enough to go out there each and every night and put up the results?
Well, I think he knows that a lot of people were questioning whether that was the right contract to give him. So, what's the best thing to do is go out and prove it. And yeah, it's 3 games, but right now he's proven it. Yeah.
I mean, if he keeps up this pace, we're looking at. No, I'm kidding.
Stop.
I'm
Stop.
kidding. But I did love seeing Twarynski score that goal, and it was a great shot. I mean, it went far side, right past Markstrom's, I believe Markstrom's glove hand. No, it was his blocker. I'm sorry, he's a lefty, if I'm not mistaken. Regardless, great shot, right inside the post. Twarynski, is he doing enough to stay up with the big club?
As of right now, yeah.
I agree.
I mean, I don't think that there's a better option at this point. He just scored his goal. Momentum is high for him. Hopefully, eventually you want to see him as like that fourth line guy who provides some offense, and he's always had a good shot, even in Kelowna.
The Rockets.
That was one of the things that he got a lot of credit for. So, yeah, I think he deserves to be here.
I'm in agreement with that. I think even with Nolan Patrick coming back whenever he is back, if anything, that'll probably just bump Lawton back down to the fourth line and move Raffl to the wing instead of taking over the center duties there.
Right. I mean, and who would you say is the guy to go down?
I think it's Bunnaman. Bunnaman just really hasn't done too much. You look at other candidates, like you might think Tyler Pitlick, but Pitlick has also been a physical presence. He's been great around the boards, and he's shown the hustle. He's shown the just determination, and it's good to see that from a guy that so many people wanted to just write off at the beginning of the year.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think one of the things you have to look at, too, is how a player is used, especially like when their roster spot really isn't certain. Mm-hmm. And Bunnaman is playing 9 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the lowest on the team. Like, clearly he's just there to help fill a void right now.
Yeah, and nothing wrong with that. I think he's doing a serviceable job. There's just a little bit more left to be desired.
Right.
Yeah. But if we're going to speak about the Vancouver game and continue on with another observation here as well, interesting tidbit, Voracek's ice time against Vancouver. He had the 5th least amount of ice time, only above Raffl, Bunnaman, Twarynski, and Pitlick at 14.5 minutes. And it's his lowest time on ice in a game since the 2015-2016 season. Is that interesting enough to draw any type of conclusion or, make a statement on how Vigneault may view Voracek, or is this just kind of, it wasn't his night?
I mean, So I didn't see the game. I just saw highlights, and it's hard to really tell how someone played, especially when they didn't score. But I think it's just like a subtle, hey, Jake, if you're not going to produce the way that we're expecting you to, we're going to start limiting your ice time.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
You might as well do it early.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, what's he doing right now that, screams more ice time?
I haven't seen anything that would indicate that at all.
I'll go back to the New Jersey game, but there were once or twice where I was just like, shoot the freaking puck. This extra pass crap is driving me crazy. It's like he's afraid to shoot.
You and probably 95% of the fan base.
And I think that's part of the problem, right? I mean, Vigneault's got to be saying the same thing. Now, granted, he's got 7 shots on the year, but there are just times where he has pretty good scoring opportunities, and he makes these passes that turn into nothing because they're forced. It's like, dude, you're a star in this game. Shoot the puck with confidence.
He's playing hot potato with the puck. He's just like, no,
right.
I don't want it. And passes it along. It's like there's times where when you have an open net, you take that shot. No matter when it happens, if there's an open net, you take the shot.
Right.
I mean, did he miss that in training or something like that when he was learning how to play hockey?
I get that there's pass-first players, and I understand that he's a pass-first player, but you also have to demonstrate some sort of intelligence where if you have an opportunity to score, you need to take it.
Yeah. Now, interesting here, I had a guy, Joe Tillman, tweeted at me. It was earlier this morning. I don't know how valid this is, but he points out that AV's been saying he doesn't like the way Voracek played in the Devils game. 3 minutes time on ice in the third period against Vancouver on Saturday night. I mean, if that's the case, is this something that, come middle of the season when the trade deadline hits, are you looking to maybe ship him off for a haul no matter what position this team is in, whether they're a contender or not?
First of all, I don't think that he's a trade that can be done in season.
Okay.
Typically, like the big contract trades have to come in the off season. It's more like expiring contracts when games are being played.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that Jake Voracek is going to be a trade discussion all the time.
He could also be left unprotected for the expansion draft.
Right. And if we had more bona fide goal scorers on this team, I don't think that we would be giving him as hard of a time. But we don't. We have a bunch of really good playmakers, but we need people to finish, and people are counting on Voracek to do so.
You're right. And again, like you said, excuse me for dropping my phone there. The pass first mentality is something that doesn't need to die, but needs to be approached with more of a cautious approach, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, there's just moments where it's like he decides to, when there's a clear shot, he decides to make passes that just shouldn't be made in the first place. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's giving someone else a good opportunity. It's like this person then will have to stand on their head in order to put the puck in the net.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It just, to me, looks like he's afraid to shoot.
Yeah. Now, there was also, we mentioned it as well, his time on the fourth line, obviously attributed to his ice time. In my opinion, that's a waste of Voracek right there. I agree with you. It's so early in the season, and I understand the tinkering with the lines and what he did. He put Vigneault did. Vigneault put JVR up in the top line with Giroux and Hayes. I think is a good move as well. But, I'll be interested to see when they play Calgary. I believe it's Calgary Tuesday night, how these lines are going to shape up. Because I think there's changes coming. But with the way those lines worked for the first 2 games, even against Vancouver, I wouldn't say there needs to be a big enough change to really shake this team to its core. But changes are coming, especially with this news on Voracek. who knows, maybe Monday Nolan Patrick comes back and he's like, I'm good to play because he's practicing with the team.
Right.
So it remains to be seen, obviously. But
yeah, I mean, and let's keep in mind that the Flyers have recorded points in all 3 of their games. I mean, it's not like this team is playing bad.
You're right.
And Voracek, like you said, is not a guy you put on the fourth line because even in his worst games, he's still a good player. We just need him to be doing something that he's not doing.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And again, for probably the 6th time, it's still very early in the season, there's time for him to kind of shake out of this slump, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So now we're going to head on down to the farm here. We're going to talk a little bit about the prospects with the Phantoms here.
Okay.
As all of you, I'm assuming, have seen, and if you haven't seen it, then you need to see it because it was pretty sweet.
Pretty.
Very pretty. Very, very, very pretty. Joel Farabee has played 2 games with the Phantoms, has scored 2 goals, and the first goal he scored against Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, the Penguins, was an absolute beaut. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Looks like a completely different player, right? I mean,
Yeah.
When he was in the NHL preseason, he looked like somebody catching his breath and just trying to keep up with the pace of the game. Lehigh Valley, he looks like a star.
Oh, he does. I mean, he put everybody, like, a common NBA term is like, you put the guy on skates. Like, well, the guy's already on skates, but it looked like this guy just completely lost his footing.
And then looked like my daughter on skates.
Yeah, looked like me on skates right now with my bum knee. But I mean, and the goalie too. The goalie went down first, but like the patience to finish that with the backhand and just a wide open net there. How much longer is it going to be, and what's it going to take for Chuck Fletcher to say this guy just doesn't belong in the AHL?
Yeah, I mean, well, he's going to, as long as he continues what he's doing, it's going to be sooner than later. But I still think that like something else has to happen up there. We need to keep in mind, right, that this team, the Flyers, they've recorded points in every game, right? They're successful right now. They're going to get Nolan Patrick back, so someone's going to be sent down. So there's still a lot of, well, who moves and where do we put him kind of thing.
I mean, without going too far in depth here, you got to think even if Nolan Patrick comes back, it'll probably be a move that puts Bunneman down with.
Yep.
But Patrick's also not listed on the roster, so there could be a 13th forward. And if that's the case, and Farabee gets called up, I think there's some candidates that they could bump out of the lineup in favor of Farabee.
Oh yeah,
may not be popular, but
I don't want him to be on the fourth line, like I've said. So he's. So I still think let him build a little bit more confidence in the AHL. I mean, it's been 2 games, but let him ride this high for a little bit, see what he can do. And 10 games into it, if he's continuing to still do what he's doing, then yeah, find room for him.
Yeah, I think if I'm going to put any type of number to it, if he plays 10 games and puts up anywhere from 8 or more points, goals and assists combined, obviously, I think it might be time to revisit a roster spot in the NHL for him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm cool with that. I mean, I'd almost like this. I'd rather see like a point per game to like really convince me.
Mm-hmm.
But 8 and 10 is fine.
Yeah, I mean it's still pretty good stats.
Oh, for sure.
On that, he also had another goal against Hershey. Not as flashy, but a goal nonetheless.
Right.
But with that Wilkes-Barre Scranton goal, the assist came from Phil Myers on a stretch pass, which showed what we already know. The vision that Myers has is great. Myers is putting up, he's got 2 assists in 2 games with the Phantoms as well. Is he another candidate that should get a look and should be up with the Flyers soon?
Yes, I think. I don't know. My worry with Myers is this back and forth business. We just you're up, you're not, you're up, you're not. I want, if we're going to bring him up, I really want the plan to be for him to stay up.
Of course.
I mean, that sounds so obvious. Like, duh. But, but I think it's going to be a little bit longer for him. Typically with defensemen, it takes a little bit more to demonstrate that you're ready. You can't just look at a stat sheet with a defenseman. So I don't know, maybe like 20 games in.
That's reasonable. I think it might be just a little longer than 20 games because the way the Flyers roster is right now, they also have Sam Morin, who's sitting in the box. So you got to think that because Myers was sent down and not Morin would be higher in the pecking order if someone were to sit, and presumably it would probably be Robert Haig.
Right.
So they're also afforded the luxury of having Myers on a contract that allows him to be sent between leagues and not have to clear waivers. So that's an advantage. I think Myers' hill, it just makes his hill a little bit steeper to climb because, what are you going to do with Sam Morin? If you send him down through waivers, everybody says, oh, he's probably going to get picked up. There's no way he doesn't get picked up. And I'm personally a little skeptical of that mindset, but nonetheless, again, like you said, I think Myers has a little bit more to show now because of the position they're in on the blue line with the Flyers.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I personally think that Haig/Morin spot is Myers for the taking. But I do think that the Flyers are going to give Morin a little bit of an opportunity to show himself, show his worth before they go, okay, Myers.
Yeah. I think Morin should get that opportunity.
Yeah. I still don't know why he's in the press box now. I don't hate Haig like other people do, but I do think, you know what you have with him. Mm-hmm. You don't know what you have with Morin, and I think a decision needs to be made on him regarding his future in Philadelphia. So now's the time to put him in there.
And he does have one more year remaining after this year on his contract. So they could be looking at that as, okay, Haig's contract expires at the end of the year. So does Justin Braun's. Maybe it's one of those things where they're like, okay, if we just kind of bide our time with him this year, we'll really see what he has next year if we decide not to re-up with Haig. Not saying that's the ideal situation here, but it could be one that there's some validity to.
Yeah, I just think that, they're going to want to me, they're going to want to figure out what they have in him before next year, because if they decide to move on from him, maybe trade him, because there's still some appeal there.
Oh, yeah. It's been noted. I mean, these guys, like Morin, size-wise, takes a little longer for them to develop.
Right.
You're a young kid, you're growing into your body, you're still getting bigger. He's filling out his frame. It takes a little bit to get used to that weight you're carrying around because, he's a tall, lanky kid coming out of juniors, and now he's this giant man. Right. Yeah. I mean, but you got to keep in mind, too, that there's other guys waiting in the wings. Like Cam York, he's off to a pretty good start. Who knows if he's going to just have 1 year in Michigan, and then that's somebody who might be vying for a roster spot, along with Myers. Very true. Other guys that could still be signing their ELCs, like Kalinick and Wiley and Zamula. Yep. I mean, he's 1 more year in juniors, and then he's up with Lehigh Valley starting next year. Yep. Yeah. If there's nothing else to touch on there, we're going to stay with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, I guess you could say the Phantoms, because they made a move at the beginning of the week. Somewhat old news now, but we're still going to touch on it here. Felix Sandstrom was sent back down to the ECHL, the Reading Royals, along with Pascal LeBerge. Yep. Good move, you think? I mean, I didn't like it when I first heard about it. I mean, me and Lehigh Valley, right? I want prospects to develop there, and I just don't see the point of having Lyon and Berube as your goaltenders. Like, what does that help for the future? Agreed. But Sandstrom straight up pooped the bed in his first game with Reading, so maybe he does need some time. I mean, I'm not an expert. No, I'm not either. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, I'm a Flyers analyst. I'm a Lehigh Valley analyst. But, like, at the same rate, much to John's point there, that's Lehigh Valley is the proving ground, essentially, for these young kids. And how else are they going to prove themselves if they're not getting the time? And to counter that argument a bit, he will get the time with the Reading Royals, but
Right.
he's splitting that with Kirill Ustimenko as well. Two goalies who you want to develop. Now they're both splitting time that could have been predominantly one's aside from the others.
Right.
And it's a tightrope to walk because it's like on one side you got this, on the other side you got that. And
Well, it just shows you where the organization's head is in regards to the goalies. I mean, I think that they want to make sure that Lyon and Berube get as much experience as possible because they're worried about Brian Elliott.
Oh, yeah.
Know? I mean, they want to make sure that there's a guy that they can call up who's, had a lot of game experience this season.
Yeah, and we touched on it before where, my thought was Berube would be the guy that kind of floats between the leagues. Needs to clear waivers, and so does Lyon.
Right.
But, I don't see much of a problem with either of those passing through. I see more of a problem with Lyon than I do Berube, but that's not saying much.
Right.
So should Sandstrom kind of take it as a little bit of discouragement being sent down there, or is this something you think he'll be he'll be okay down there?
I mean, I think he'll be okay. What I've learned through interviewing players and things, like they understand this business unlike anybody else. Like they know that these moves are made for reasons, and they just kind of take it on the chin and use it as a learning opportunity. I mean, of course he's going to be disappointed, but he also understands that this is proof that he's not quite ready, and he's going to be put into an opportunity to build some success.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you hate to see it happen because you want Sandstrom to have that success with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms because it's only just a step below where you ultimately want him.
Right.
But if he's going to get the time down there, I don't see any scenario where at the end of the year he's not with, the Phantoms at the very least.
No, I mean, this is going to give him more of an opportunity until it's time to bring him to the Phantoms.
Yeah. So we come to something we somewhat touched on with the game recaps. We've got special teams, we'll call it an update. We know how bad the special teams units were last year with the power play and the penalty kill. And again, for I think the 7th or 8th time, it is still early.
We should probably stop saying that.
Yeah, it's still early. But, however, the power play is 4 for 10 this season. And they were the first squad to convert against the Canucks, which is a good sign. Penalty kills 8 for 9, 88.9%. Encouraging.
Oh, yeah.
How much stock are you going to put into them being pretty good right now?
A lot, actually.
Okay.
Because I think that the coaching is working, the system is working. We're 3 games in, but as long as they keep playing the way they are, there are going to be moments where they're not as successful, but still this system seems to be working. So, yeah, I'm encouraged by it. This is the best it's looked in, 5 years?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the penalty kill is what I'm most encouraged by.
Mm-hmm.
The power play I've always had a little bit of faith in, not the penalty kill though. So yeah, I'm encouraged. I think that they'll be able to keep it up.
Yeah, like you said, I've had faith in the power play. I've had faith in the first power play unit. The second power play unit the past couple of years has been pretty putrid. Seeing that goal by power play 2 against New Jersey was a great sign. And if they can keep building off of that, convert those chances, I think that the Flyers could end up one of the better teams when it comes to special teams. I mean, I think that was one of my articles that I really looked in depth at how these teams that Vigneault had acquired started their years and went from a really bad special teams team to a pretty good special teams team. There was big jumps every time they took over a team.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were done. Keep talking.
No, I was just going to say that this was encouraging and that, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, and in like a broader sense too, I mean, it really makes me happy about the coaching moves that were made. Bringing in essentially three head coaches to help shore up these areas is really paying off. And I truly think that it's only going to continue to pay off. I mean, so far, every coaching decision, everything that they've done makes sense to me.
Absolutely. And to really just put a bow on it, that's how we're going to do it. We're just putting a bow on it now. I've said all I need to say about it. I believe John has as well. It's encouraging.
Yep.
Now we get to probably one of our favorite parts of this podcast. We're going to answer your questions, baby. Let's do this.
Yeah, we got a little theme to it this time.
Yeah, we decided to have a little bit of fun with this. We wanted some over-unders here. We wanted you guys to give us a number, a topic, and we were going to tell you whether we're going to go over or under on that number. And if we're going to start things off, we're going to start things off right with Papa John here.
Papa John.
And I'm not talking about my buddy here, John Gove. We're talking about Papa John's 7704.
Nobody calls me that.
Well,
Nobody
I do.
calls me that.
I
No,
do now.
Don't.
That's a thing
Please
now.
Don't. Okay.
Over under games played by Brian Elliott until he gets injured again. Ideally,
Wait, isn't he supposed to give us a number?
Exactly. That's what I was going to get to. Ideally, we wanted a number provided, but we'll let it slide. We'll give you a number, I guess, and then tell you, I guess, number of games until he gets injured again. Let's go. What do you say? 25.
All right. So over under 25.
We're going to set the bar at 25. Over under. Brian Elliott gets hurt.
Let's do over.
Agreed. I've got a little more faith than most people in Brian Elliott, whether that's blind faith or not, but still faith nonetheless.
Right. I think that his workload is going to be less in that time anyway, so.
Yeah, I think Carter Hart's going to handle a fair share of these games.
Right.
And that just kind of leaves Elliott to take one every now and then, like a good backup goalie does. Next one, we have 3 in a row from the same person, Nicholas Hankins. Nicholas, his first over-under is 10, which would be the top 10 in wins for Carter Hart. Will Carter Hart be inside the top 10, or will he be outside the top 10 at the end of the year in wins for goalies?
That's not really over-under, is it?
Yeah, well, kind of. If in a sense.
I guess like over would be in the top 10, under would be outside the top 10.
Let's flip that. Like under would be outside the top 10.
Isn't that what I just said?
Probably. I wasn't listening.
Well, I'm afraid to listen to this episode because I think we both had moments where it sounds like we've been hit in the head by a 2x4.
Once or twice, whatever.
Yeah. Whatever. I think he is going to be. Oh, the hell with it. He's going to be in the top 10 for wins. Why not? Let's get a little ballsy.
I think he's going to be just outside the top 10 in wins because when you think about it, that's not necessarily something that he has the utmost control over.
Right.
So it's tough to really say, yeah, Carter Hart's going to be the reason. He's going to be a big reason in why they win a lot of these games, I'm sure. But top 10, I don't know if I'm ready yet. Ask me this in 365 days.
It depends on how many starts he gets. Like we still don't know what the split's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, is he the 1A or is he the starter?
Right.
We don't know the mindset yet. And it appears that he's the starter because he started all 3 games so far, but
well, that's the thing too, man. There's enough of a break in these games so far where they haven't really had to worry about it.
Yeah, even the next game, we go from a Saturday game to a Tuesday game. That's still 3 days that he gets to rest.
Me, by the way. We've only played 3 games. Some other teams have played 6, 7, 3. Ugh.
Hey, I mean, we'll get into it here.
I know.
Stretch coming up, we'll have a game damn near every day probably. And with that being said, we move on to the next one from Nick. Over under 30 goals for each of the top 6 forwards. So, to clarify, top 6 forwards, we have Giroux, Couturier, Hayes, Konechny, Lindblom. Do you want to peg him as a top 6?
I mean, if we're just going on lines,
yeah, it'd be
Okay.
TK, Couturier, and Lindblom, and then Giroux, Voracek, and Hayes. Because Voracek was slated as the top line guy with Giroux and Hayes.
Should we swap out Lindblom for JVR though?
Yeah, let's do that.
I mean, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to go under on this. There's no way all of them go over 30 goals.
You're right. I agree. I mean, when you think about it, Giroux and Voracek even, like two of really the top guys on the team, they're consistent 20-something goal scorers because their point totals come from the assists.
Yep. Yeah.
If you're talking TK and JVR, I'd say over because I think both of them are capable.
Right.
But
yeah,
all six.
But not all six. That'd be crazy.
It'd be amazing. But
like, is that a common thing to have 6-year forwards score 30 or plus goals? That'd be wild.
Oh, I know. It would be. I mean, you're talking 30 goals, 6 players. That's 180 goals. That's
math. Yeah.
It's a hellish stat line for those guys.
Right. That'd be great. Yeah. But no, I don't see it.
Yeah. So we get to his last question here. He goes, over under 10 injuries happen in the rage room in the Wells Fargo Center this year. Oh,
that is the dumbest thing in the world, by the way.
I love it, just not at the Wells Fargo Center.
Oh, yeah. I think a rage room is an amazing idea, but
how appropriate
to me, it's kind of insulting.
How appropriate is it, though? Like, think of how mad you see all these people on Twitter getting, and it's like, problem solved. Go to the rage room at Wells Fargo Center, pay $35 for 5 minutes?
5 minutes?
It's crazy.
That's just another thing to make you angry. $35. Man, we should invest in rage rooms.
I don't have enough stuff for people to break.
Well, we could just we could do junk days. We'll just go find people's junk, set it up in a room. I think it's a good business venture. Bob John Inc.
I mean, go to a scrapyard, pick out an old car that doesn't run anymore, and just give a guy a sledgehammer. That'd be enough for me.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to invest in our rage room business, just hit us up. DM us, email us, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, email's in the Twitter bio. But officially, over under those injuries, 10 of them. What do you think?
Because I'm hopeful, I'm going to go over. I hope so. That'd be funny as hell.
I could see a lot of bad things happening in the rage room. I'm going to go over too.
I like it.
Oh, for sure. Now we get to fellow Flyers writer Eric Reese says over under 57 wins in 2019-2020, including overtime and shootouts. I wanted some clarification on this, so I said, are we talking combining the wins and the overtime losses? And he said yes. So basically 57 games where the Flyers score at least 1 point in the season.
Okay.
What do you think, over under?
That's a good one.
That is.
So they don't have to be wins. They just have to get a point.
Yeah, so either a win or an overtime loss. Shootouts obviously included in that.
I'm feeling optimistic today, man. I'm going to go over.
Who are you?
I know. What has happened? I just think this is the right thing to pretend to be optimistic about.
You're right.
It's doable when you talk about overtime and shootouts, not having to win those. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think 57 wins is a bit lofty.
Yeah. This isn't Tampa Bay we're talking about here,
Right. But, yeah, I'm over. Why not? How about you?
I mean, if you think about it, the Flyers are notorious for going into overtime. They do it all the time. So it's like, out of those games, they still can get a win and get that put chalked up in that column. You can get an overtime loss. That's, 10 overtime losses and 47 wins. It still puts you, if my math is correct, at 104 points.
Yeah.
I'm going to say under. Not by a lot, but I'm going to say under. I've got to take the under on this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how you do things. You play it safe. You don't trade Jack Eichel to me.
Yeah, well,
jerk.
Once you start getting over it. God.
Never. I'm going to stay salty.
You're right, because Jack Eichel's probably going to be the one to win me my second consecutive fantasy hockey championship. Anyways.
What was the hashtag I made up before? Hashtag make the trade.
Hashtag no.
Hashtag no.
If we can proceed here.
Fine. Fine.
Our next question comes from Chadley. And Chadley asks us, Provorov, over under 15 goals for the year. You feeling optimistic?
No, I'm going to go under on this one.
I'm feeling optimistic. I'm going over.
All right.
Yeah.
Can we? What is it when you wanted it to be 15? Is that pushing it?
Yeah, that's a push.
I'm going to push then.
I want to push you off a cliff.
That's not nice.
No,
You take that back.
I'm not editing this. This is just going up as is.
Then.
No.
Take it back.
I'm a man of my word.
Back. That's not nice.
Men are only as good as their word, John Gove.
Shut
You
up.
should know this. Moving on to the unofficial Moncton Wildcats podcast. Adam and Jeremy, they ask us...
Do you ever listen to this show, man? I actually really recommend it. It's really good.
I'm going to be selfish for a second and say that really the only podcast I listen to is ours, just because I like... No, and I'll explain here. I like to be able to listen and find points where it's like, okay, I shouldn't have done that, I shouldn't have done this, or like points to build upon. You know what I mean? I'm a critic of our own podcast.
Shout out to the Wildcast. It's pretty entertaining.
Yes, and I promise you I will start listening here shortly.
He's lying.
I'm not lying.
All right, get to the over-under. I'm sorry. I'm feeling very tangential.
All right. Well, anyways, over-under. Carter Hart, .920 save percentage this season, which would put him in the top 10 according to last season's numbers.
Over.
Over.
Yep. I mean, I already said he's going to be in the top 10, so I might as well keep it going.
Hey, got to stay on that train.
Yep.
I like it. I think he could do it.
Because the defense is also playing better in front of him for the most part,
yes.
too. I mean, which helps.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely a huge help considering where we came from last year with our defense. Shout out AMAC. Next 3 questions come from Christopher Malanga, and his first, he asks, Travis Konechny over under 33 goals.
I'm going to go over. I'm going to say 35.
I'm right there with you, brother.
Nice.
I won't give like a projection just because I'm usually wrong with those, but I'm going over.
35 was the first number that came to my head. That's as far as that projection went. I didn't use any fancy stats.
Oh, you didn't use your pie charts and your heat maps?
Nope.
Come on, Stevie.
Yeah, no, we haven't shown Stevie heat maps much love recently.
Yeah, well, maybe that just means there's not as much stuff that he says that we have a problem with, which is wrong.
Which is wrong.
We're going to keep rolling with these over-unders. We've got the Flyers over-under at 98 points for the season.
Well, again, I'm going to have to build off of an answer that I had from before, so I'm going to have to go over.
Okay. I'm going to go push.
Okay.
I think 98 is the number that they're going to be at the end of the year.
I mean, it could still get them in the playoffs, so.
Oh, for sure. Could definitely get him a wild card spot, if anything.
Yeah.
Last over-under from Christopher Malanga. He says Farabee or Frost over-under 10 games played.
Okay, so Farabee, I'm going to go over.
Agreed.
Frost, at this point, I'm going to go under.
He took the words right out of my mouth. Farabee's the next guy coming up, and I think Frost is going to do much better in the AHL this year. Yeah,
agreed.
All right, this next one comes from Joe Tillman, and Joe Tillman actually has 5 numbers that we're going to go through bang, bang, bang. We've got Giroux over under 85.5 points.
Now, this is a betting man. He's like, I'm going to put the 0.5 because you can't push now.
This guy knows the lines.
I'm going to go under.
I'm going over.
Good.
My man G. Voracek, 75.5 points.
I'm going to go under.
Me as well.
Yeah, because he has to score goals.
Yeah. He only shoots when he wants to, apparently. But
right.
Couturier, 65.6 goals.
I'm assuming that's a typo.
Yeah, he probably meant 0.5, but 65.5 goals.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna go So wait, 65 goals?
No, not goals up. Sorry, points.
Oh, I was like, holy crap. This isn't the 80s.
No, that'd be incredible, but...
I'm gonna go over.
I'm gonna go over as well.
Okay, cool.
This next one is goals, not points. Travis Konechny, 33.5 goals.
So I'm gonna go over because I picked 35.
Again, I agree. Last one, Carter Hart, 35.5 wins on the season.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like a lot. But I guess it depends on how often he starts.
Mm-hmm.
Screw it. I'm going over.
I'm going to go under. Yeah,
okay.
I think
Downer.
Yeah, well, it's Derek Downer, actually. But that's a tough one. I'd love to be, the sunshine rainbows. Yay, he's going to do it. But you guys don't come here for that kind of crap. We're realists.
Right. No, you know what, though, man? Like, I know I'm just doing this whole optimistic thing, but I do think that it's not going to be a 1A, 1B thing. I really think he's going to be getting a lot of starts, and that's why I think he's going to get that many wins.
And that's kind of where I differ in opinion, because I think that it's going to be viewed more as a 1A, 1B type situation, which don't agree with, but that's
right.
Just, Regardless, we have come to an end here at the Pod Street Bullies, folks. John, I'm going to let you tell these fine ladies and gentlemen listening right now where they can find you on social media platforms.
You can find me on Twitter, not at Twitter, on Twitter, at PodStreetGove. I think I spell it out, but,
yeah,
just try it. If it doesn't work, it's TST.
Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter. I don't do other social media things, but you can find my articles at Philly Sports Network. And if you're into the OHL, you can find some of other articles on the OHL Network.
Yeah, you can. And you can find me on Twitter at PodStreetBob. That's 2 B's at the end there. And you can find my work on the same platform, Philly Sports Network. We have an Instagram page as well that you could follow, run by John's lovely wife, who does a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I told her she had to step her game up, or I was going to fire her. She's stepping her game up now.
I'm sure that went over like a ton of bricks in the Gove household.
Oh, yeah, didn't sit well, but that's okay. For the brand.
Yes, for the brand, baby. Anyways, folks, obviously you know where to find us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can find us on YouTube as well, Spreaker, iHeartRadio. That's it for us. We're going to leave you. And as always, how I end every podcast, let's go Flyers.
Bye now.